Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I actually tried to do this video earlier, but for some reason I'm having issues with the uploading. So anyway, today's video is going to be about bullying at school and the workplace, various different places where you can find it, and specifically in and around female bullying. It's a pretty raw video today because it's sort of been something that I've been dealing with over the course of my life, and still, like, there's no perfect answer to any of this, but I guess if you can understand, what it is, what the signs are, and that you're not the only person going through it. There are people dealing with this stuff every day. It's not okay, but to be able to talk through things and know that, there is something that you can do about it, and there are avenues that you can, avenues that can help, make sure that you're okay and be able to help you get through it, then I guess that's something. As I said, I'm going to try and probably break this into probably 2 or 3 parts, but because it is so long and there's so many examples that I can possibly give. But look, I think the first thing ultimately is that the biggest part of things that I guess you need to make sure that you've got around you if you are going through all of this is a support network. I had my parents who were very, very, very supportive. I had a very good relationship with my parents, and they were certainly advocates for me of, I guess, making sure that, I wasn't completely stuck in the one situation. So, for instance, at school, if I was having a really hard time at school, they made sure that I had other avenues outside of school to be able to have friends and do the things that I wanted to do, that I was passionate about: sport, other interests, church, these sorts of things that create outlets, which meant that I wasn't solely reliant on on school for a friends network. So that was certainly something that was a very, very key thing for me across my journey in this. But I think the first thing to understand is that especially with girls and females, it's not necessarily about the exact words that are said. It's the implications, and it's the way things are said, and it's the it's the way, it's the body language, and it's all of these things that, it's almost like plausible deniability. Oh, if I haven't said those words, then you can't say that I'm bullying you. Well, in actual fact, there's many, many ways to be able to make someone feel less than themselves. And I certainly have seen a lot of that. It's one of those, for me, if I sort of go back and sort of think about all of the instances where, where it happened. Like, for example, if, you're in class and no one wanted to sit next to you, and then you had to go and sit by yourselves, and, a group of girls over the other side of the classroom, look over their shoulder and, like, it's the facials, and it's the sniggering, and it's the isolationist, and it's, it's hard to verbalize because it's so emotional, but also there's so many elements to this. As I said, it's, it could be just a little look like that, or it could be moving away when someone comes to stand next to you, or it's so many things. And the thing is, it's hard to then, you react to that physically, and when you're in the moment, you sort of deal with that. But then you know, to try and go home and try and explain to your parents what's sort of happening, that becomes really, really difficult. And I guess how did I sort of go about it? I tried not to let it worry me. I tried to sort of think, well, if they don't want to stand next to me, that's fine. Or if they don't want to sit next to me, that's fine. You know, I just tried to sort of shrug it off a little bit. But look, that's easier said than done. I guess part of it again is sort of stuff that goes unsaid, or it's the tone of voice that's used in a lot of instances, and trying to then convey that to someone when the words aren't actually, you know, reasonably innocuous, but the way someone says something, you know, can be completely different and completely change the content of the actual sentence depending on how they say it. You know, it's like, if you, for instance, a compliment can turn into a really nasty thing. You know, someone could say, "Oh, nice dress," you know, top notch. Or they could say, "Nice dress, top notch." Same thing, said completely different ways, but it's the intonation that makes it what it is. And so in my next little clip, I'm going to sort of delve a little bit deeper into that. I'm going to give you some examples of how I was bullied, not only all the way from, you know, pretty much kindergarten right through to my last job, and hopefully sort of delve into a little bit more of these things. But as I said, the thing that got me through is just making sure that I had other outlets, and I've carried that through to this day. Actually, I just make sure that I've got a diverse interests. You know, I do a lot of things. I sing in a choir, I go to craft groups, I do this online. I have my professional career. I've got, you know, I got my sport. I've got, you know, friends at the gym. So I just make sure that I'm spread myself across a range of different things, so that one area isn't necessarily a focus, and so that it makes me feel good by doing all of these things, and not being solely focused on one particular thing. And I would say that if anyone's going through any of this, that is a massive key thing for me. So anyway, I will catch you in my next video. God bless, love you all, and I will see you for the next one.